So we kind of need to think about what intelligence is briefly.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So what do we actually mean when we talk about intelligence?
Yeah, and you could say it's a tricky definition, but in a way it's sort of not.
Yeah, I don't think we mean it in like in a philosophical sense so much.
No, just as like a mechanical sense.
Yeah.
I think that I read like a definition that was
there was quite a good definition.
There we go. The ability to acquire and apply knowledge and skills. So like the more you improve your ability to acquire, gain knowledge, and then apply that knowledge through skills and stuff.
That's it, basically, isn't it? Yeah.
The better you are at that, the more intelligent you are as like an organism.
Yeah.
And
so thinking about it in that way, like it's totally just a trait that's emerged through natural selection, like everything else.
Yeah, exactly. So like how a giraffe has got a long neck because it needs to reach up to berries.
Yeah.
It's more mysterious though, kind of how humans gained this intelligence.
Yes.
So it's just a biological trait that's been evolved out of natural selection, like we said, like the giraffe neck. But like what actual forcing functions mean that you gain intelligence to the level that we have?
Yeah.
It's kind of a strange thing to think about because you're sort of thinking you have to think of humans very much as like an animal species.
Yeah.
Like very much as kind of like a part of just the web of life.
You do,
and I just about to say I recommend people going to read.
Say the same thing.
Yeah, what's the Wikipedia article?
Just Homo sapiens.
Just on Homo sapiens. Yeah.
Yeah, just read the Wikipedia.
It's like the species article.
It's written as if from the outside, looking at humans as if they're a species.
Yeah, as if they're like a
species. They are a species.
But if they're like a species of spider or something.
Yeah, just totally objectively looking at them from an outsider's perspective.
And it's really fun to read.
Yeah, just talking about like they exhibit complex like social behaviours and all this stuff. So yeah, that's quite a good read. Makes you think about things in a slightly different light, which is good.
Definitely. So if we think about the types of kind of things that have made us develop.
Yeah. So if we're thinking generally about how intelligence might emerge, then humans obviously are like the best, if not possibly the only example we have. Well, definitely the only example we have of ever had of something that's got to this point with it.
Yeah, and there's potentially like a step change kind of in terms of our like intelligence by that definition compared to the rest of the animal kingdom.
Potentially, yes.
In terms of like what we've been able to do with
it. And in fact that ties into what we were talking about a couple of weeks ago with the Anthropocene. Yeah. Like now we're recognizing this as a new geological era. Yeah. Which is totally to do with us affecting the planet. Yeah. And that's all come through our intelligence.
Yes,
like
exactly.
The fact that we're affecting the planet to that like scale represents like a step change in how life is like interacting with the planet, which is crazy.
Yeah. So if we take humans as like a case study for a very intelligent animal, basically because we don't have any others that are so strongly intelligent. Mm-hmm. So first you need to think about like what it was that made humans evolve, because there's loads of different traits that humans have. It's not just like brain power that's allowed us to become like a dominant force and therefore evolve intelligence or whatever. So like when you look back to back to the Ice Age, when you think all the way back to like when we were like little monkeys running around.
Yeah, in like yes.
Back to like Africa, early days jungle kind of
massive jungle.
We were basically just like one of the great apes at that point.
Yeah, tree dwelling.
Tree dwelling.
Like swinging around in trees.
Yeah, loving it.
Having a great time in the steamy rainforest of Central Africa at the time. Well, central wherever in Africa, somewhere in Africa.
Yes.
Yeah, whatever.
Fairly central, I think. Yeah.
And then the thinking is that there was like this.
There's a climate change.
A few million years ago, the Earth started to cool, like basically go into an ice age. Yeah. Which meant that a shitload of moisture was deposited from the atmospheres into the polar ice caps. Yeah. Dried everything out. The rainforests like retreated in Africa.
Yeah, well, the Earth was just basically going through a cooler phase. Yeah. And so rainforests, the rainforest, the kind of equatorial rainforest we see now, became either much scarcer or disappeared almost entirely. Yeah. And you ended up having that replaced with grasslands. Yeah. And that essentially made us kind of evolve the traits that we differentiate ourselves like visually and physically from apes with. Yeah. So things like we developed like bipedal walking movement.
Yeah. Because suddenly we have to we're just in this open environment of potentially like grasses and stuff. Yeah. And like you need to be able to see because there's crazy big cats and stuff running around and just
other predators.
Yeah. So that's the thinking is that now we need to be able to stand up, right? So that frees up upper
front limbs, yeah,
for doing things.
So they didn't. They stopped becoming about being able to climb. Like the great apes tend to have their hands and feet are actually like sort of very, very similar.
Yeah, they
whereas
are.
Ours have kind of diverged in a way, and these have become more useful for using tools and stuff, and our feet became more useful for running.
Although it would be great to have hand feet.
Yeah,
I don't know. I just always thought
some people kind of have that though. Like you get artists that can paint with their feet.
Yeah, true,
and stuff.
but it's still a bit sort of.
Bit awkward.
It doesn't really work.
Be better
properly.
They would
like a proper hand foot. Although it actually wouldn't bear your weight very well.
You wouldn't be very good at running.
No.
But you could climb up stuff. So there's you win some, you lose some.
Yeah. And a tail. Sorry, this is a bit of a tangent.
But what happens if you had? This is a tangent. What happens if you had hand feet? You could. Is that better for modern life? Like sitting in an office.
You what it might
you could
be
type
for.
like on 2 keyboards or something mental.
You
lie down and you're like typing with your back and typing with your front.
And a tail so that you can like hang from a bar.
And just type on
type like. I'll tell you what it would be better for though. Again, massive tangent. But if we do have multi-generational or like long-term space travel where there is lots of microgravity involved, zero gravity involved, having like 4 hands instead of feet and hands, just like grabbing onto stuff and like propelling yourself through 0G.
Yeah,
that would be cool.
That would be cool.
So it just seems like, just by serendipity, basically, we ended up in this environment where we were stood up on our hind limbs, like basically bipedal, or our ancestors.
Yeah.
And we already had like opposable thumbs. Our upper limbs are freed up. We already had opposable thumbs because
tree grabbers.
We were tree grabbers.
We were
climbing in the trees.
Great apes have opposable thumbs.
Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Obviously, they're not as dexterous and stuff as ours, but.
So now we're in the situation where we can actually use those thumbs for things other than climbing.
Yeah.
Like tool use, like hitting things with big sticks and stuff like that.
And you see like rudimentary tool use in some great apes.
In
terms of like sticking sticks. So obviously
that's something that probably a behaviour that probably existed already.
Yes. It was just we were now able.
Now we could like really elaborate it and start like using it to its full potential.
Why did we lose hair? Random tangent.
Yeah, good question. I mean, who knows if it's relevant to intelligence.
Streamlining is better for running.
Yeah, so I think there's like 2 competing theories about a thing. I mean, they might not even be compete. They might just be that both of these things happen to a certain extent. But one of them is about running and sweating and keeping temperature regulation. Because one of the things we ended up doing was pursuing prey over great distances.
Yes.
Like for ages.
Yeah.
Pursuing prey until like tired, and we were able to pound or whatever.
They still do that in some tribes, don't they?
Yeah, they do. Yeah,
just run until like for like somehow
days.
like a gazelle just is more exhausted than a guy who's just like
I think it's pretty hardcore for the guy as well, but you know, we can stick it out longer, which is crazy. And part of the reason is because we can regulate temperature better.
So it must So fur would not be helpful.
And the other thing was that we were spending a lot of time in water, like in streams and stuff, like fishing. And it streamlines you in the water and helps you like stand up in river flows and catch fish and stuff like that.
And stops you, you're less likely to drown and stuff. You're just a better swimmer.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think there's like a bit of evidence of like early human-like species kind of living near water and fishing and all that kind of stuff. So
right.
Yeah, so it basically is probably a combination of those two things and some other stuff that we don't know about.
Yeah. So back to the intelligence thing then. Yeah. So we already had quite large brains anyway from our ape ancestors.
Yes.
In fact, it may even be that at that time apes were even before us. They were the most intelligent thing that has ever existed.
Yeah, like the Earth has ever seen, basically. Yeah,
probably. Well, I don't think there's any evidence that any of the like dinosaurs, like Troodon or anything, like any dinosaurs remotely as intelligent as great apes. Certainly not great apes, and I think they're thought to be less intelligent than most of them, like not that intelligent mammals.
Yeah, sure.
And obviously, there's no comparison. Some things like octopus and things you could, but that gets into like a grey area of like what intelligence kind of is, and
and how you actually measure intelligence, especially with like 2 things that are so.
Yeah,
sort of fundamentally
and like crows
different.
are very intelligent and stuff.
Yes, they are. Yeah,
but I think great apes are pretty unanimously, like chimpanzees, are thought to be like unanimously.
The kind of like social behaviours and things that they display is quite unique. I mean, obviously we don't know how dinosaurs behaved.
No,
but we can kind of piece together bits and pieces, and it doesn't seem like they had like lived in large groups in the same way that primates did or anything like that.
No, social behaviours and things.
Yeah, sure.
Well, they did live in large groups, and dinosaurs did live in large groups.
Yeah, they did. Yeah, but Yeah, well, we don't know about their behaviours.
No, we don't know anything about theirs. I just mean in terms of like other comparable species, in terms of like which is the most intelligent before humans evolved. Like maybe there's some arguments to be had that there was stuff that was kind of like on a par with great, but most I'm pretty sure kind of the general consensus that apart from us, like chimpanzees and bonobos, which is just another type of chimpanzee, are the second most intelligent.
Yeah, basically.
Of the animal species, right, and then like right at the top is also there with like dolphins and then maybe things like orcas are super smart,
and like some other like some massive whales like blue whales and stuff like who don't really know how intelligent they are. It's hard to say, but
and then also things like crows are really smart, like weirdly smart, and octopus and things are up there as well. But anyway, so we inherited all these characteristics.
Yes. But
and a big brain.
Yes, but then that actually makes it even more like of a puzzle.
Yes, it does.
Because we get to that point. We're out of the trees. We're in the grasslands. We're on 2 feet. We've got our hands freed, and we already have
good monkey
brains, like good monkey brains.
A solid monkey brain.
Yeah. Like,
sort you out.
Nailed down awesomeness in our monkey brains, and so surely that is enough to like fully exploit the environment and be like highly successful, and adapt our like running and our like upper limbs to be better, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but it doesn't explain like this runaway intelligence like explosion that seemed to then happen and led us to here.
Yeah, exactly.
So there must have been something else going on, some other kind of like pressures, some other kind of selection that's happening to drive like the continual like improvement of our intelligence at that time. Yeah,
like an intelligence sort of arms race. In the way that like certain species become they sort of compete with each other to get extreme kind of sizes or whatever. You would expect in order to get such an extra amount of intelligence kind of that we have, although it might not be that our brains are that fundamentally different from apes. They are, as in what they actually...
Well, they're bigger for a start.
They're bigger. I mean, definitely there was like a huge increase in like cranial size.
Yeah.
In comparison to the apes.
And there's like
actually it's really significantly bigger, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's like 3 times the size or something like that for like body mass.
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah.
So it's like can't remember what early hominids are, but I think they were like 600, and that goes up to like 1,200 like milliliters per whatever.
Cubic centimeters.
Yeah. So there's like a big change in cranial size.
And that's just like hardware, like processing hardware, basically.
Yeah, and we'll talk about this more in a minute, but like that dramatic increase in cranial size, and obviously like the structure of the brain is really important as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to have happened before in other environments like this, and we'll talk about this a little bit more in a second.
Yeah.
So something was driving this push to make us like some sort of intelligence arms race.
Yeah.
Amongst hominids.
Yeah.
Amongst this kind of like bipedal ape.
Yeah. So certainly basically it seems like our intelligence is unnecessarily complicated for the environment that we lived in at the time.
Yes. Yeah. It wouldn't just in terms of hunter-gatherer necessities.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem like that's not enough of a selection pressure to drive us to evolve that intelligence.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not. It just doesn't explain it fully.
Yes,
because otherwise we would have ended up just being like another type of successful ape.
Yeah, sure. So you got to think about like what else would have been going on, and like how maybe just something about like the situation that we were in at the time was like driving this constant increase in intelligence. And there's plenty of people thinking about this kind of stuff, of course. And there's a few like competing or like synergistic theories about it, and one of them is to do with the fact that we were living in complex social groups.
Yes.
Essentially driving like the as the group size grows, the number of relationships you have, and like how they increase like by orders of magnitude, like as you increase the group size. So it's not just like a linear increase.
Yes.
So like suddenly you have to like form like friendships and alliances, and there's like deception going on, and like
so like game and, like, kind of evolutionary game.
Yeah, exactly. Like these things get more and more complicated and more layered and structured, and in their kind of like weirdly abstract relationships you get in like in a complex social, which is all the stuff that we just totally intuitively know how to do.
Yeah, to tell if someone's lying, to tell if someone's untrustworthy or
like reading body language and like in a big group of people when you're chatting to people, and like conversation ebbs and flows. You just the kind of weird, like the kind of strange social interactions that happen in a group of in a group of humans.
Yes.
As like proto-humans were like growing in group sizes,
they had to necessitate. Yeah. It was of benefit to your reproduction.
Exactly. That's the crucial thing.
Your evolutionary fitness was improved.
Yeah.
By being able to manipulate the social group to your own like will, essentially.
Yes.
And to exploit it.
Yes.
In a beneficial way for the group overall, but mainly for you.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. Like individuals would benefit if the group itself was successful, and the group would be successful if individuals were like playing within the rules of like the social groupings and stuff. So that you kind of sort of see how these things begin to like push intelligence sort of forward in a way.
Yeah. So there obviously there are lots of theories that kind of seem to revolve around that core concept, really.
Yeah, sure.
In terms of like people suggest that like maybe intelligence helped us evade disease. People, animals that were more intelligent were able to more effectively evade diseases and things. But or like pick drinking water that was likely to be cleaner because they were smarter and could recognize it or whatever.
Yeah.
There's loads of kind of different,
sure.
But they all kind of feed into that overall like intelligence, survivability, and sort of social mix. But you do get, of course, go on.
Yeah, there's like a feedback as well, because like in this social like the social brain hypothesis, whatever it is, as animals, as proto-humans or animals or whatever become more intelligent, then there's this thought that they become more difficult to understand from like another individual's point of view. So you need to match their intelligence to be able to kind of read their body language, understand what they're, empathize with them, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like,
just have a functioning group of animals.
Exactly, yeah. You can see how like from generation upon generation that these things will gradually start driving each other forward.
And the more successful individuals would be able to breed more.
Yeah. Yes.
The more successful individuals being, in those contexts, the smarter individuals.
Yeah.
It does still beg the question: it's like, why hasn't that happened before in other groups like meerkat, like other mammals that have large, apes live in fairly large groups, but clearly the hypothesis here that we were beginning to live in much larger groups, maybe because we were constricted to trees or.
And it's not just a function of group size entirely, because you're right. There's like loads of other animals that live in much bigger groups.
Yes.
Or much bigger groups than those groups would have been.
Yeah.
Like even stuff like wildebeest at the time, or whatever the ancestors of wildebeest were at that point.
Yeah.
Like they would have been living in like herds of like thousands probably.
Yeah.
Or whatever, hundreds at least. And then these little groups of ape-like things are going to be like tens, like dozens maximum probably. But it's just the fact that they started down that road from the standpoint of already being quite smart anyway.
Yeah.
So it's this argument that like a smart animal is harder to understand.
Yeah.
Than a simple animal.
Yeah.
Because its behaviors will already be more complex. So to understand it in a social situation, you have to already be like a little bit more intelligent than like a wildebeest or something to understand it.
Yeah.
And meerkats do have like a complicated
they have like
social behavior and hierarchies and stuff. But presumably,
but so do like things like termites.
Yeah, like termites and social insects and stuff. Like,
yeah,
that's
in terms of
that is mental, because that's almost like civilization building.
I think we'll talk about that maybe in another episode in terms of like maybe what separates us from humans or something like that. What separates us from humans? What separates animals from humans?
Yes.
But certainly you see those kinds of in a way it's not difficult to imagine intelligence evolving in other, so being like a fitness benefit to other animals that are living in large groups. It's probably to do with something that we were already like the forcing factor was just much stronger in this case, and that we were already quite smart anyway and able to structure our groups actually, like fundamentally, before we were being pushed into this situation where social kind of like hierarchies and things made up our groups. We were already in, before we moved into that phase of that like evolutionary intelligence race. Yeah. Potentially we were already, like, the starting point for us was probably much higher than it has been for any other animal living in that type of thing. That's
true. And we also know that there were likely several species of a similar level of intelligence occupying the same environment, which could have been
competition. Yeah, exactly.
It could have been a really important factor as well.
Yeah, other hominids.
Don't know if the same thing's true for things like meerkats and stuff like that. I mean, there are always going to be competing species.
Yeah.
I mean, that's part of evolution, basically.
Yeah.
But the fact that you would have had several early human species that were all of a very similar intelligence might have played a big role in it.
Yeah, like an arms race between species, like us and kind of Neanderthals and stuff. That's probably too far down the road already.
Yeah,
that Neanderthals, to be honest, have already had that like leap of intelligence, probably.
Yes.
In terms of they had like culture and stuff and cooked food and they were basically just like cavemen.
Got married and stuff, right?
There's some evidence to think that they had like married out of families, and so like for all intents and purposes, they were very close to humans.
That's just
they were humans, really.
And they went extinct like fairly recently, right? This is a bit of a Neanderthal tangent.
I can't remember when they went extinct exactly.
I think it's like 40 or 50,000
years
ago.
Yeah, it wasn't that long. Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
So there was just these, like another species of us just wandering around. I wonder what we would have thought about them. Like,
well, people have said that actually you might have found them like very backwards in like a bad way. In the term, they'd be very like tribal and intolerant of like outsiders.
Yeah. But would we think of them as animals?
No, probably not. I wouldn't think so. No. We think of them as like,
because they would have like they'd have language and stuff like that, wouldn't they? They communicate with each other. Well, I mean, arguably like primate groups, chimpanzees communicate, that have language. They do. They have like a rudimentary language they communicate. So it's just like a gradational thing between.
It's the fact that you could have like potentially taught like a Neanderthal to be like a civilized kind of like human.
Yeah.
If you raised a Neanderthal, and it would have been obviously it would have like seriously struggled at school, and it wouldn't have worked. And that's probably one of the reasons they died out, is because we just outcompeted them. But you potentially could have taught it like the cultural, like, and understanding culture in terms of actually understanding and like adhering to that culture, not like a monkey that's taught to go smoke cigarettes or whatever. So we probably would have considered them as humans. I think, but like whether we would.
It's a really interesting sort of thought, like how
that coexistence.
Of two very similar intelligences. So the other thing that was probably really important as well. Some people think that this is like explains all of it, but it certainly would have been like a massive part of it. Is like sexual selection.
Yeah.
So that's like it's almost like what we've done through artificial selection with like dogs and stuff, right? So you breed animals together, and we've done that because we want a certain dog. But like sexual selection exists throughout the animal kingdom, and it's like wherever you have like animals reproducing sexually, you have like whatever the female finds attractive and whatever the male finds attractive ends up getting selected for, because you'll end up like choosing the most attractive mate all the time. So there's this argument that like early humans would have been sleeping with and mating with the most intelligent ones, because they'd have the most intelligent offspring, which would then be the best at surviving.
Isn't that the same environment? So that's still part of that like social game.
Yeah, it's definitely part of all that. Yeah. And it's almost when you think about it, we're sort of like breeding ourselves smart.
Yes.
In a way.
Yeah. Yes. Obviously, it's not even unintentionally.
No.
Well, it is.
I mean, we wouldn't have been thinking, like one day we're gonna, if we keep doing this, then like thousands of years from now we'll be building cities. Obviously, there wasn't an intention behind it like that.
Yeah.
But
it's not like eugenics.
Yeah, and even it would have been a subconscious intention. Like,
you just find someone attractive for whatever.
Yeah, you find someone attractive because they're intelligent.
Because they're good in that society.
So I think that was probably quite an important part of it. Like as you start having this thing begin to run away with itself, then something like sexual selection will just reinforce it and drive it faster. Yeah. And
isn't there like a theory that, in a way, that's still happening in our current, like as in that partners tend to, you obviously, in the same way that humans choose and did choose partners based on preferences for certain things. If you have more desirable characteristics, then you're going to pick partners with more desirable characteristics and be able to mate with them. It's like that kind of like people in and out of your league kind of sort of like whole thing.
Yeah, totally.
That humans are still doing that, and they are doing that, and that actually you may get like a sort of division in the human species, whereby people who have more desirable characteristics get to breed with people with more other desirable characteristics, and you're not having this like highly intelligent race that kind of splits off from a less intelligent race because they don't want to breed with each other anymore.
Yeah.
And they kind of split off.
Yeah.
That's like, obviously, it's just a future kind of like speculative theory.
It is, yeah. Slightly dystopian in a sense.
Yes.
It's possible that through like global travel, though, that the opposite will happen. That we'll get more mixed.
Well, the point is that you would get mixed initially. That you would
you go through an initial period of mixing.
Yeah, so then all the races like blend together.
Right.
And then you see like a split.
Yeah.
But that's if like, I mean, to be honest, at that point, I mean, with technology, I mean, will you be choosing like sexual partners anymore in that way? Probably not.
There's certainly arguments that we are continuing to, our morals are continuing to evolve. I mean, that's not even an argument. I mean, that's sort of obvious. Like our cultural morals are still continuing to evolve.
Certainly,
change. Evolve, whatever.
Yeah.
That is being driven by an evolutionary need because we're living in larger and larger and larger groups all the time.
Yeah, more and more connected.
More and more connected, and it's more and more beneficial to have like progressive like morals in a sense, you know.
As in more accepting of people from different cultures because we have to accept those extra cultures.
Diversity, more accepting of different cultures.
Yes.
Yeah. Essentially.
Yeah.
So. That's kind of like a weird abstraction of what we were just talking about.
Yeah. But anyway, so back on topic. So obviously we've seen. So we're talking about these like this sexual selection and the environment in which these humans lived in, and this society that formed, which led to a kind of evolutionary arms race in humans.
Yeah.
But the thing is that environment, in terms of the movement from jungle to grasslands, has happened probably many times before. In the past. I mean, you would have gone through loads of different periods of global warming, global cooling,
cycling of like global temperatures and stuff, and definitely.
So why haven't we had like this totally unique evolutionary arms race happening before?
Why haven't we seen this before?
Even
like, why haven't there been like why weren't there dinosaur cities? Why weren't there dinosaurs like flying into space and stuff? You know, like why weren't
Imagine a T-Rex with his little arms on the controls.
Maybe that's
he'd need those sticks they have in the Soyuz.
Yeah, just like little levers to do everything. Like
bite the control panel.
Imagine what a T-Rex spacesuit would look like.
I don't know.
They'd have to take so much meat with them as well to like survive.
Just whole cows and just some humans.
They probably wouldn't have been T-Rexes that would have.
No, T-Rex would be rubbish at trying to be smart. Rubbish. They've got no like hand. Anyway, we're going.
But anyway, so as we were mentioning when we chatted about the Anthropocene,
yes,
intelligence of this scale alters the geological record of the planet.
Yeah, so we've definitely not.
So
seen
we would know if it had happened, and it hasn't. It hasn't happened.
Definitely not.
So
it would be blatantly obvious.
Why not? And the thing to remember is that evolution doesn't have like any kind of end goal. It just exploits what's reproductively successful.
That's it. Yeah.
With the dinosaurs, maybe just like through the 200 million years or whatever that they were around, it was just it was successful enough. And there wasn't the pressures that existed in the kind of like proto-human, early human stage that pushed this arms race.
Yeah, but it also might be that yes, that's true. That maybe the confluence of pressures might not exist in the same way, but also the starting points for those pressures were probably different.
That's a good point.
Because you didn't have, for example, since dinosaurs died out, you had mammals evolve, and mammals generally, if you look at the spread of different mammal species, on average are more intelligent than dinosaurs. As in that body plan, that particular biology of that vertebrate it results in more like higher intelligences in generally in almost every like avenue in which it's gone down. In comparison to dinosaurs, in comparison to the dinosaur equivalents of filling those ecological niches, the same ecological niches.
Yeah, it's
so like
true.
the top mammal predators are probably more intelligent than the top dinosaur predators, so it's dolphins and orcas and things are more intelligent probably than like mosasaurs and other plesiosaurs and things.
Yeah. So even though like on the face of it their environment is very similar, in the same way that like dinosaurs inhabiting a grassland analogous to the one that early humans would have lived in, like the environment seems the same. So like why didn't you see that same runaway?
Yeah.
And maybe it's something to do, as you just said, maybe it's something to do with mammals. Like maybe there's something about the mammal body plan or about like the mammal biology that allows it to happen. I'm not really sure.
As in that happened to be the dominant thing at the time, the dominant vertebrate body plan, the one that dominated the overall kind of biology of the Earth in terrestrial environments. Yeah, and consequently, your starting point for when the evolutionary pressures for intelligence selection started, your starting point is different.
Yes.
And so you end up with a higher level of intelligence happens to have evolved just because that at that point mammals are more successful. One of the reasons they're more successful, or they were able to be more successful once those niches were opened up, and the dinosaurs didn't like re-expand into them, would have been because they were more intelligent, because they were more able to utilize their environment. They're just effectively probably just a better kind of like a higher fitness,
like an upgrade. Yeah, just okay. We've tried dinosaurs.
That
was sort of an evolutionary dead end. I mean, evolution doesn't have. I'm talking about it.
Well,
as
that's
if it's
the
like
thing.
Anthropomorphizing evolution.
No, it doesn't have a goal as such.
No.
But I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, I mean, a dead end in the sense that in the dinosaurs never built. They never had a civilization in the sense, and they had much longer than mammals did to evolve. And they never had anything as smart as far as we know in terms.
But they were from an evolutionary Darwinian sense, like extremely successful.
Oh, hugely successful, yeah.
And their eventual extinction is probably tied to like some like weird catastrophe that
it's just tied to a meteor impact.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, with nothing to do with their like either an evolutionary dead end or anything like that.
Yeah, evolution didn't go. I've had enough of this.
Yeah.
It's just that. And
mammals did exist during.
They did, but they couldn't fill the.
They were suppressed by the dinosaurs. They were totally outcompeted. They were kept very small. They were like a minor part of the.
Yes.
Of the fauna or whatever you want to call it.
Yes, yeah, no, sure.
And
they did kind of exist, not proper mammals, but the things that mammals evolved from existed before the dinosaurs.
Yeah. So the common ancestor of dinosaurs
at the
and
point
mammals.
actually. Yeah, at the point of when the Permian extinction, before the dinosaurs became to be like the big dominant thing.
Yeah.
The things that the mammals evolved from were the dominant kind of thing, the synapsids or whatever they're called. I can't remember the name of them.
That's it, yeah.
And they then were suppressed. The early environmental things favoured dinosaurs, and so they dominated the planet, kept mammals suppressed, and then when they died out because they were the higher animals, and we left with like rats or whatever that evolved into everything else, mammals were able to flourish.
Yeah, so it just so happened at that point that what was reproductively successful, not just to do with the environment, but just to do with the certain set of circumstances at that exact moment. And that's the thing with something like evolution, you don't need much of an advantage for it to explode into like a giant like world dominating type of animal. Yeah. You just need a very subtle edge when you're in the phase of just the first like level of speciation or something. Just a very, very subtle advantage, and that can just be like just total like chance set of circumstances.
Yeah. And so mammals became the dominant species. But what is it about mammals that allows them to harbour they have on average a larger brain, but they've got to have the biology to support the brain.
Yeah.
And you've got to have what about because dinosaurs laid eggs and stuff, didn't they?
Yeah, well so that's the thing. Like a bunch of most mammals in fact are placented mammals. Which means that you just carry live young and have a placenta and like exchange nutrients and stuff with the fetus as it's growing. And maybe there's something about that. Maybe you're just able to supply enough energy to grow like large brains.
Yeah.
When you're carrying live young, rather than an egg where you like all of the nutrients for the fetus development is in the egg, stuck in the egg, and you can't add any more in. It's just all in there.
Yes, maybe and that's nowhere near as much nutrients as you can get through having a live. You end up having less young on average, I would think, than something that lays eggs.
Yeah.
But you end up with
possibly. I am just speculating here.
Yes. Sure.
So yeah.
I'm just speculating as well.
Yeah, sure. But but it is possible that something like that, amongst many other things, could be one of the reasons why mammals were so much more intelligent across the board, seemingly, than anything else.
And consequently, when it came to the circumstances needed for an evolutionary an intelligence arms race, the starting point was much higher, and we ended up. So what actually is probably the answer is, which is it's not really. This is a speculative answer, but it obviously was like a combination of loads of different things. Loads of different evolutionary coincidences where life was in terms of its evolutionary pathways at that particular time of that particular environmental change, which then led to this kind of like potentially like a social competition required to pass on your genes amongst animals, a particular group of animals, which led them to become more and more a runaway intelligence, much more intelligent than anything we had seen before.
Yeah. You've got to you remember about this, the phenomenon of evolution, biological evolution, is it's just like it's unbelievably complex and depends on all these like intricate, like interrelated effects of, so like as I was saying earlier, there's the tiniest little advantage, the tiniest little difference in circumstances between early dinosaur evolution and early mammal evolution could have just been like the trigger which allowed like the circumstances to be the way they were when humans came out of the trees.
Exactly, and the same. So say we didn't have something in our early evolution meant that we didn't end up having the right hands to use tools as well. Yeah. We would have never developed that intelligence. Yeah. The intelligence arm race would have been like totally different. It never would have. And so all these kind of features that we see as humans now, they're even like hairlessness, like everything like that, has probably contributed in a way to getting to a set of circumstances in which becoming intelligent and becoming more and more intelligent is hugely beneficial to passing on your genes to it, and therefore that gets selected and you get this runaway arms race, which you didn't have. You'd never had that particular organism starting point and that particular set of circumstances in the history of the Earth before. Yeah.
Which is mad when you think about it, because there are so many like chance events necessary to get to this point.
Yes.
Like, but in no means were we like an inevitable consequence of anything.
No.
So for a start, you needed a giant meteorite to slam into the Earth to wipe out the dinosaurs.
Get rid of
them. And then, like, Christ knows how many like tiny little circumstances that needed to be exactly right in exactly the right times for us to come out of the trees at the right time, for the right species of primates to be there with the thumbs and the hairlessness and whatever they had at the time.
Yeah.
All of these things had to be just right.
Yeah.
So unlikely.
That's why it took how long since
since
probably
like
it took like a quarter of the age of the universe to get like from cellular life to us. So it takes a long time for all these chances to iron themselves out. And potentially on other planets it might take longer, or it might take
shorter. Yeah, sure.
But it is a stack of unlikely scenarios.
Yeah.
But all of which are just coincidental. There's nothing magical about it. It just it's just chemistry, kind of just physics, chemistry, making up biology, and
mad. It's mad. It's crazy. Think about it like that. And here we are, like talking about it.
Yeah, so we got so smart we can then do like YouTube videos and talk about our past and like think about how we came to kind of see the world around us and reflect and see and have and have
crazy conspiracy theories about stuff.
Oh yeah,